Overall thoughts on Saturday night's main event last night. I thought Saturday night's main event was actually a pretty good show. I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to go as far as to say it was actually better than the Saturday night's main event we got last month with John Cena's last match. And that was a pretty good show. I relatively enjoyed that Saturday night's main event. But this Saturday night's main event from top to bottom was actually a really, 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 really good show. Of course, the match that everybody is talking about is, of course, the AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura match. But let's do a quick recap of Saturday night's main event from January 24th, 2026. And one of the things that I love about these Saturday night's main event shows is, number one, they're no longer on NBC. It's strictly just on Peacock. Now, if you look at it from a business standpoint, it doesn't really sound good because, of course, NBC is network TV, Peacock is streaming, but let's be honest with ourselves, everybody streams nowadays. But the reason why I like this format so much better in the show not being on NBC is the fact that, if you guys remember those early Saturday night's main events, and it was very prevalent with the Goldberg match that we saw last summer with Gunther, that show was just flooded, and I mean flooded, with commercials. Like, you would think, WWE would let the match breathe. As soon as they come back from commercial break, you would think maybe we'd have maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes of live wrestling happening, but within maybe a minute or two of coming back from commercial break, WWE immediately switches back to commercial break. It was absolutely insane, and it was ridiculous. But the last couple Saturday night's main event were strictly on Peacock, and honestly, the show has improved drastically. Now, let's run down the card real quick because, again, it was a pretty good show, to say the least. Originally, our first match that we saw at Saturday night's main event was Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu. Now, of course, this is stemming from the 3 Stages of Hell match that took place a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown, in which Drew McIntyre won the WWE Championship. It's about damn time, because every time Drew McIntyre was placed in the title picture, they always booked Drew McIntyre to lose. At some point, when is enough enough? And WWE actually had the balls to put the belt on Drew McIntyre. But Jacob Fatu had a lot to do with the finish of that match, and that's the reason why we got this match between Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. Now, this match ended up not happening. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is the bell didn't ring. They were fighting all over the freaking arena throughout this whole match, but the match actually did not start. They were just brawling all over the freaking place. So the match that was advertised did not actually happen. But you know what? That is fine, because the brawl that took place at Saturday night's main event last night was amazing. In my opinion, I thought it was really entertaining to watch. Also, the involvement of Drew McIntyre was pretty good too. And of course, it creates a lot of speculation as to what we're possibly going to be seeing at WrestleMania, because, of course, ever since Drew McIntyre won the WWE title a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, the plans for WrestleMania dramatically changed. Originally, if you guys do not know, WWE planned for Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. And not the Royal Rumble, at WrestleMania. Sorry about that. The Royal Rumble is a different story. Roman Reigns could very well win the Royal Rumble, but that's another discussion that we will be having later on this edition of the show. But the original plan for WrestleMania was Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes 3 at WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Now, me personally, I love the Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns matches. I know a lot of people do, especially the second one. I mean, the second one was overbooked to hell, but for good reason, because that was where Cody Rhodes finished his story. But a lot of people, when they first heard this report, everybody was like, they were kind of scratching their heads, because number one, Roman Reigns has a very limited schedule. And if you have a match between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns now in 2026 at WrestleMania, the outcome is going to be very, very, very predictable, because there is no way Roman Reigns is going to be winning the WWE title. There's just absolutely no way. With the schedule that Roman Reigns has, I mean, no chance in hell. We're not going to go through that rabbit hole once again. Even though Roman Reigns, regardless of his absence, every time when he shows up, Roman Reigns is an attraction. And that's just the God's honest truth. Roman Reigns is an attraction. But at the same time, if you have your world champion show up once, twice, 3 times, 4 times a year, you got a problem. So ever since Drew McIntyre won the WWE title, plans have changed. And the rumored 2 matches that could possibly be the match for the WWE title at WrestleMania 42 is either Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title in a one-on-one match, or Cody Rhodes versus Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre in a 3-way match for the WWE title, which, again, both of those matches do not seem like WrestleMania main event matches. But at the same time, it's something, because people need to understand that going into this year's WrestleMania, there's no main story going on. Like, what do I mean by that? And I talked about this on last week's show. There's no Rock, or maybe there is a Rock. We might not know. We have absolutely no idea. But, you know, there was no final boss like we saw 2 years ago. There was no big narrative of John Cena's last WrestleMania like last year, which, I mean, made total sense, or the Bloodline running things. We're coming into WrestleMania season this year very flat, and there's no real ongoing narrative that is going on heading into not only the Royal Rumble, not only the Elimination Chamber, but also WrestleMania 42 this year in Las Vegas. So, you know, WWE, you know, has to come up with something, and a lot of people, you know, are not really too keen on the triple threat match, but we've seen triple threat matches before, whether they were the right decision or the wrong decision to book, but we've seen triple threat matches before for world titles at WrestleMania. So what we saw at Saturday night's main event involving Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu, and Drew McIntyre, which he literally involved himself in that equation at the end of that brawl, we're probably going to be seeing that triple threat match at WrestleMania. That's the vibes that I got. But we're going to have to wait and see. We had the women's tag team titles on the line as Rhea Ripley and Io Sky defeated Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. A really, really, really good women's match. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky got the win. Again, it was nonstop action. It was total nonstop action. That's a nice dig at TNA right there. But it was nonstop action, a pretty entertaining match to say the least. There were times where I actually thought Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez were actually going to get the win, but Rhea Ripley and Io Sky end up getting the win. We had interferences with Roxanne Perez. We had interferences with Stephanie Vaquer making the save against Raquel Rodriguez. So that was great to see. But Rhea Ripley and Io Sky ended up getting the win, and they retain the women's tag team championships. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, the match coming out of the show that everybody was talking about. This was a phenomenal match, and no pun intended, but this was a phenomenal match. Easily their best match, and I mean this wholeheartedly, their best match in WWE. Because, of course, they had, I believe, 3 matches in WWE back in 2018 for the WWE title. And all of them, in a way, were kind of disasters, because if you compare those initial matches in 2018 compared to their Wrestle Kingdom match in 2016, which, ironically, it was not AJ's last match, because I believe he did wrestle one more match for New Japan after that Wrestle Kingdom match, but a lot of people consider it his last match, but that's another story for another time. But if you compare those 3, I believe 3 matches, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you compare the WrestleMania 34 match between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura compared to their Wrestle Kingdom match in 2016, it's like night and day. This, in a way, is kind of on par with that, maybe slightly below, but a really, really, really good match. And it gave you vibes that AJ's career is nearing towards an end. And we're going to be talking about AJ Styles in our next topic because, of course, one of the matches on the undercard for the Royal Rumble is AJ Styles versus Gunther. Now, if you guys do not know and have been living under a rock, now, granted, I kind of been living under a rock because I've been disenfranchised with the WWE product, but one of the things that I've been paying attention to a lot, especially throughout the last couple months, has been Gunther. Gunther, throughout the last couple of months, even after John Cena, has been on a freaking tear. A freaking tear. He just has. He has been on a tear. Even after dropping the world title to CM Punk. After he dropped the title to CM Punk, everybody cared, but, nobody was talking about Gunther when Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank. Easily one of the best SummerSlam moments of all time. And I say that wholeheartedly because I was there. I was there at MetLife Stadium. It was freaking awesome. But in terms of Gunther, after that, Gunther has just been on on a complete tear. And especially after John Cena's last match, I mean, Gunther has the heat that this man generates. I mean, again, I said this last week. Gunther is essentially a heat magnet. That's who he is. Gunther is a heat magnet. He is. And he retired Goldberg. He retired John Cena, and he's probably on the verge of retiring AJ Styles. He is. And from what it looks like, AJ Styles is set to leave WWE and most likely retire. But AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and we'll talk about AJ later, was a phenomenal match. Easily the best match on the entire show. Easily the best match on the entire show. It was off the chain, and it gave you vibes that this was going to be AJ Styles' last. We're headed towards AJ Styles' last match. Also, his contract is probably up, I believe, around February. He stated differently that his contract runs until the end of 2026, I believe, on the Undertaker's podcast. But again, we'll talk about that later on. But AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura was definitely a classic match. A lot of people are even considering this match to be the match of the year so far of 2026. Now, that's a stretch because we're probably going to get a lot of crazy ass matches this year across WWE, AEW, and especially AEW because they are the ones that prioritize in-ring wrestling. And you guys know how the standard is for AEW matches, but we're going to have to wait and see. But definitely, if you want to rank this amongst one of the best matches so far in 2026, I definitely cannot blame you. I cannot blame you because this match was really good. And then, of course, in the main event, we had the four-way match to determine the number one contender for Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia at the Royal Rumble. We had Sami Zayn get the win by defeating Randy Orton, Whoop That Trick Williams, and Damian Priest. A Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre match in Saudi Arabia sounds very, very, very promising. Number one, Sami Zayn is like a god to these people. Whenever he comes into Saudi Arabia, and we've seen this time and time again, whenever WWE comes into Saudi Arabia, the reaction that Sami Zayn gets amongst the fans in Saudi Arabia is unlike anything we've ever seen. Like it's an amazing reaction. And look, I'm going to be honest. Is Sami Zayn going to win the WWE title at the Royal Rumble? Hell no. But one thing I can guarantee is that this match is going to be a banger. I'm very, very interested to see what's going to happen when it comes to Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, because everybody's always been asking about Sami Zayn, because Sami Zayn hasn't really been, from what we've seen so far, hasn't really been in the main event scene. So, I mean, this is definitely going to be a very, 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 very interesting match happening at the Royal Rumble. And who knows, even though Sami Zayn is most likely going to lose, maybe this may skyrocket Sami Zayn finally to that main event status. But we're going to have to wait and see. But also, by the way, I completely forgot to mention, Sami Zayn's reaction in Montreal was fantastic. Of course, Michael Cole, even on commentary, made the comparison to the reaction that he got at Elimination Chamber against Roman Reigns. And in a match that was really good, but fans were upset about the outcome. And I can vividly remember telling a lot of fans, like, you guys must be the stupidest bunch of people out there, because, I mean, it would make no sense for Roman to drop the title to Sami Zayn a month or two before WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? It made no sense. But again, that match made Sami Zayn look really, really, really good. And Sami Zayn definitely got a great reaction right here at Saturday Night's Main Event. It was a very good match, and Sami Zayn is deserving of this title shot. I don't care what anybody says. But overall, Saturday Night's Main Event was a really good show. I really enjoyed Saturday Night's Main Event. It was a fantastic show, and from top to bottom, this was probably one of the better Saturday Night's Main Event shows that we've seen in a while. And when I mean in a while, I mean like maybe 2 or 3 shows. But yeah, it is what it is.